Hey guys, this is Carrie, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at uh, making our comments especially styled from the rest of our page so that they stand out. So please go to your REPLs. Now, you're going to have a variety of different tech blogs here. It's going to be a little bit more confusing probably because of having your peers share their tech blogs with you. So just make sure that you click the right one. If you're not sure, you can click a couple of them and figure it out by process of elimination. Alright, so I think I've got my tech blog open. So let's see. I do have an issue here with the image that I want to talk about stylistically. But before we do that, I want to focus on the main point of this video, which is to address the comments. So popping this out, currently the comments have no special content. So I'm going to actually fill my comments with random text to make them a little bigger. So I'm just going to search for random text. Cool, I'll grab the Latin one. Alright, so I'll just grab some random text here. You won't have to do this, but it's this thing that web designers do. Oftentimes they'll be designing a website before the content is available. And so pasting in random text like I usually do can help give your website a final look before the content is ready. But your content is ready. Alright, so catching up with you guys, here we go. So right now, I've got my comments all set up, matching very similar to what your comments might look like. And I want to apply some specific styles to these comments so that they stand out. Now the problem that we run into is that these comments are paragraphs. And so are my blog posts. So if we use the tools that we have, when we select the paragraphs, we're going to end up selecting not just the or the comment paragraphs, but also my blog post paragraphs, because those are also P elements. So instead what we need to do is we need to use a new tool in CSS, and that's something called a class. So a class is an attribute, and we've learned a couple of attributes. So we've learned attributes like sources for images. What we're going to do is we're going to go into our comments, and inside of the, sorry, I'm going to try to zoom in here. Oh, it's not letting me zoom in. Inside of the angle brackets here, we're going to add an attribute called a class equals. I set up my quotes right away, and then we make up any word that we want to have here. So I'm going to call this a comment, because that's what it was. Now I'm going to add this class attribute to all of my comments. So that was one. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to carefully paste it. Notice that it goes before the angle bracket. The color coding is really nice because it makes it match things like the source of an iframe or the source of an image. Alright, so those are my two comments up there. I still have it copied, so I'm going to paste it in here, comment 3. Let's give it a class. Oh, too many spaces. And comment 4, let's give it a class. Notice that there are no spaces around the equal sign. I think this will actually mess you up if you put spaces there. So, okay. Alright, so, oh, whoa, too much deleting. Alright, comment, awesome. Alright, so how do we style this now? Well, we go over to our CSS, and I'm going to show you the longhand version for a second, and then the shorthand version. So down here, we'll create a new selector. We want to select not just all of the P elements, but all the ones with the class comment. So to do that, we do dot comment. And now if we make the background, I don't know, let's see what would be a good color for this. I'm just going to go with light blue. And we run it. What it will do is it will take all of the paragraphs that have the comment class. That's what the dot means here. This is just a regular period. Dot means select those with a class of comment. Alright, so this is the longhand way of writing it, and the shorthand way isn't actually much shorter. It's only one letter shorter. The shorthand way is we don't actually have to include that we're selecting all of the paragraphs with the class of comment. We can just say, okay, well, select all of the things with the class of comment, because all of the things with the class of comment happen to be just the comments. If we had a mix of comment paragraphs and comment headers and comment images, we might want to use the P dot, so we got just the paragraphs. So oftentimes we'll select things with classes just by doing dot whatever the class name is. Alright, so here's the background, light blue. All right, let's see, what else do we want to do? Let's add some padding, because like I see right now that this is all up against the edge. So 5 pixels of padding. Maybe 10 pixels of padding. All right, things are looking a little better. Maybe I'll throw a border radius on that. Now, there's a really nice effect that I like to use called a box shadow, which I've hinted at. So I'm going to actually add that box shadow to this one. So box shadow. I like to go 1 pixel, 10 pixels, RGBA 000, 0.3. And I'll explain to you what those numbers are right now. Just let me load that up so we can see if I got a good effect. So running it. It's going to be very subtle here. Do you see this like very subtle shadow around the outside? I think that really makes the comments pop out compared to the background. So basically what this box shadow is it's like the shadow gets 1 pixel to the right, 1 pixel down. It has a 10 pixel blur, which kind of gives it this nice blur effect. If we were to delete that 10 pixels, it would be a very crisp shadow. And I don't really want that crisp shadow. And then what this RGBA is R, red, green, and blue I set to 0. So this is a black shadow because it has no red, no green, no blue. But the transparency is really high. It's 0.3 is the A value, which is the transparency of that color. So it's like a transparent shadow. The closer this is to 1, the closer it will be to fully like non-transparent. If it's 0, it would be completely transparent. So it's a decimal from 0 to 1. All right, so we've got our dot comment styled a little bit. All right, I wanted to also show you one more thing, which was, let's say that we have like a really awesome comment here, and we want to like, maybe there's just one comment on the page that we want to highlight. What we can do is we can actually go back to our HTML, and let's say that we want to select the best comment. So for me, I thought comment 2 was the best. So what I'm going to do is, to style this, you can actually give it another class. You could give it another class by doing something like this, by putting a space and then best. And what this means is that it has 2 classes. It's got the comment class and the best class. But instead I wanted to show you, if you're selecting, instead of a group of elements, like we did with the comment class, we can select a single element by using a similar property, an attribute called an ID. So we're going to give this one, our best comment, an ID equal to best. Now, similar to before, this is a way of like recognizing the paragraph as unique compared to the rest of the paragraphs. So classes select groups of items. IDs will select individual items. So I can only have one thing with the ID of best, and that refers specifically to this paragraph. All right, so with this one being my best comment, I now want to give it some special styles. So in order to select an ID, dot is used for class. To get an ID, we could do something like, okay, select the paragraph with ID of best. And so for an ID, we use like a hashtag. But similar to before, well, because we only have one item with the hashtag, a lot of the time you'll see in CSS code a shorthand. They don't write select the paragraph with it. They just say select the thing with hashtag best, which is the ID best. All right, so let's give this one a border. 2 pixels, solid gold. Let's make the background of this one. Let's see. No, actually, yeah, let's make the background of this one. I don't know, green. All right, so here we go. Where's my best comment? All right, there it is, special compared to the rest. But notice, well, one thing that's really interesting is notice that this one, it actually has the class comment and the ID best. So it's actually inheriting a couple of features from having the class comment. It still has the same padding, which is really nice. It still has the border radius, which is really nice, and it still has that box shadow, which is really nice, that very subtle box shadow. So the only things that get added to it because of the ID are these two things. So the ID overrides the background color, and it gives it a border as well, because that's my starred comment.